Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am your host, Saucy McFoodlefist, and in the last one, Zach and Hannah talked a lot, and we didn't show her. We were gonna show her a picture, like the creepy picture that Zach took of Hannah, but then Zach, at the last minute, we decided not to take or show her the picture. So let's get started. As it turns out, I do have another choice. I'm not a religious person. I won't identify myself as such. Or rather, I can't. Sure, my grandparents didn't have to force me to go weekly. I'd happily join them. In fact, most of my childhood Sundays have been spent attending service. It's simply that, as you get older, the more experiences you get, forming your own beliefs on things becomes easier, for lack of a better word. And at one point, it just stopped, that kind of thing. Nevertheless, I hold no disdain for it. Sometimes it does help. When things are really, really bad, when the dreams won't stay where they should be, talking does, a bit. It's also a good thing that Father Norman, well, he's not completely the pious man that you typically expect. My unlikely friendship only happened once because of the kind of guy who's cool with the young ones, as he aptly puts. And he is, surprisingly, it makes him easy to approach. Maybe he has something to say about the photos as well. It won't hurt since I've already gone ahead and went to Anselm. At daybreak, on my bike. At the very least, I know I won't get shouted at by whoever answers the door.
Unless someone does that inside a church. I highly doubt it.
Despite its age, the Luxborn Church is a thing of wonder itself, and its high vaulted ceilings and intricate stained glass windows. One of the many gifts the Ermengarde family donated to this community in its early days. Or so I heard from Rebecca. She mentioned this once, although most of it flew over my head. At this time of day, the church is mostly empty, save for a few visitors and ushers shuffling about, some muttering their prayers under their breath. The scene of burning candles and incense permeate the air, giving the place a general feeling of reverence. Pretty welcoming, all in all. Even so, I keep my noise treads to a minimum, disturbing the quiet feels like a sin alone. An usher points me to a pew in the front of the altar, where Father Norman prays. He mentioned something about a good priest not being about the good priest not being in good health. Ever since he was asked by a couple to bless their new home before moving in, this is the first time he's left his room. No surprise there. With the weird heat lately, even Rebecca caught something. Nervous little chap, the kid. Nevertheless, he leads me close to the foot of the dais, with a reminder not to stay too long before walking off. Seconds later, Father shifts and stands. He doesn't seem to have noticed me, and I have to give him a little tap on the shoulder. When he looks, though, to say he's surprised is an understatement.
Stay away.
Oh, shit. His voice comes out in a whisper, almost an audible hush, a quiet restraint and deference to where we were both standing. But the trimmer is there. He focuses on me with bulging eyes, copious amounts of sweat appearing on his forehead, despite the relative coolness of the place.
Father Norman?
Keep your distance.
Hey, it's me, Zach, remember?
Stay away, don't come near me.
It must be the fever talking, or whatever he caught. It has to be. I don't recall ever doing anything for him to drive me away like this. In all the years I've known him, he's been nothing but polite, nothing but accepting of people regardless of beliefs or status in life. For words akin to a threat to come out of him, it's simply beyond unimaginable.
Go back to where you came from. Leave.
Father, what did I do?
Leave now.
I extend a hand to his shoulder, meant to be reassuring. but he recoils, his ankle catching on the edge of the dais as he backs away. His shout when I attempt to reach out again echoes throughout the entire hall, catching the attention of the few people inside. I try to keep a level tone, but the stranger's eyes trained on us, panic starts to weave its way into me.
Stay away, demon! Go back to the hell you came from!
Father, it's okay. I only came here for some pictures I thought looked odd. I figured you might know something.
From my pocket, I fish out the photos and try to hand it to him. Instead, he strikes my wrist away, almost like an accusation, and sends the photographs fluttering uselessly on the floor. Hopeless, I can only watch as he curls himself on the ground, a sad, blubbering mess whimpering to himself. He tips his head forward and begins rocking, his hands clapped over his ears.
That accursed spirit, so full of anger and pain. All those horrible things I've seen. I can't sleep. I can't eat everywhere I look. Go away, go away. Go away. You're not supposed to be here. This is a house of God. Be gone, demon. Lord have mercy, God, our Lord, King of ages, all-powerful and almighty. You who made everything and transform everything simply by your will.
A number of people move closer, mostly just to gawk. Thankfully, as I save him from an utter spectacle, two ushers come out, taking him away. One of them, the kid from earlier, shoots me an apologetic look. I can't even return it to him. Anxiety is a powerful thing, a firm little notion that clings, eats, and consumes you. I can still hear his prayers even as they drag him away.
May he keep at bay and vanquish every evil power, every poison or malice invoked against us by corrupt and envious people. Then under the protection of your authority may we sing in gratitude.
It rings, hums in me as I am left to pick up the pieces of this chaos. Back to square one we go. If there is salvation in this, I hope we find it soon. The moon is well into the night sky by the time I make it back home. My heavy treads and the sound of traffic outside echoing in my ears, filling the empty room with some semblance of life. Nana would scold me if she ever hears me walk like that, but after today, I really can't give a damn about everything. The mattress creaks under my weight as I unceremoniously flop down on it, and I find myself looking at the paper under my grip. As promised, Miss Wright had my bike delivered back to my apartment. Found it parked in a rack downstairs with an invitation and a note tacked to it, in fact. Be there, it said. If it were only that easy, but it'll give me a chance to talk to her. About that thing in their house. With a sigh, I let my hands fall to my side of the side of the bed along with the invitation. I'll think about it tomorrow when my head ain't muddled with the thoughts of headless women and haunting the smiles of a ghost. Belatedly, it occurs to me I haven't eaten anything since I left this morning. An empty, gnawing ache makes itself known, but I can't bring myself to stand up. Today was a complete waste of time, and frankly, a disappointment. You know, I kind of agree with you, by the way. We talked and talked and talked with Hana, and then all of a sudden, we didn't do anything. I don't like this. The lack of certainty, the disquiet, the lack of stable ground to stand on, the part where I do not know what will come tomorrow. Ever since that damn letter, everything has been thrown out of the loop. I wish everything stayed the same. Routine would have been easier to make sense of than this. Closing my eyes, I let the noise of the streets below me lull me to sleep. At the very least, that's one thing that hasn't changed. It's almost Halloween. The melody carries into the hall long before I cross the threshold. Solemn but gentle and soothing, a reminder of what home is. Pa's firm but meaningful gaze, Ma's wistful smiles, the warm rays filtering through the eaves of the sunset, the distinct smell of wet earth and leaves after a long day's rain, and our room. The room, Mom, Pa's pride and joy, a place where we were once promised several springs ago. Yet it won't stop.
No, wait! Come back! I'll be good this time! Please don't leave! Please stay!
The floorboards are cold under my feet more than it usually is. The walls more forbidding than what I'm used to. Farther and farther the room goes. Ma's singing ceases, and Pa... I can't hear Pa. Not above the raucous clanging and the deafening roar of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comforting soft melodies. There is only the blinding fear. But when the light breaks, her skin has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Hana's neck, loose, staining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes. A scream ripples through the air. My whole body feels distant. Every limb heavy with lead, all unable to move at will. Not even I can wipe away the beads of sweat forming at my temple. The rasping of my breath fills the room in the wee hours while I force it back into a steady rhythm. There is a tightness in my chest that I can't shake off. My heart pounding against it as if it's about to burst out. Something cold has settled in my legs. Not the unusual chill that comes and goes with the passing breeze through the window, but one strong enough to sting, shackle, and leave a frigid sensation creeping up on my skin. With every struggle I make, the pressure winds firmly around my legs. Tighter, and tighter, and tighter. All until it becomes too much. My heart stops. And another draft sweeps the room and brings it with an iron tang of blood. Thick, suffocating. Filling my nose with a foul, sickening smell as I shift my gaze downwards, and it slowly comes into view. Mouth stretched into a hideous smile and brimming with nothing but madness. Okay, now things sound like they're getting interesting. The stench of gore taints the air around me, and I can't look away. From it, from the terror of death and the uncanny twisted features alone scream. I try to open my mouth to shout, to ask for help, but my voice has left my body altogether. All I have is the painful realization that no plea will ever save me from her. Then suddenly the bed dips. The brutal plunge back into myself jerks me awake. There is no ear-splitting scream, no wild thrashing of limbs. Just a painful, constricting awareness that something has wound itself tightly around my neck. I waste no second pulling it, a blanket away, allow myself a few minutes to steady my breathing before getting off the bed. Inhale, hold, exhale. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. But the dreams have gotten worse. Ever since 2 days ago, no longer are they small cursory flashes that I'm used to, but vivid ones that linger. I can still feel that blood in my hands, the putrid smell of rotting flesh, the sickening crunch of bones breaking with every movement, and her cold, chilling eyes as they bore into me. I draw my one ragged breath. Before I know it, I'm walking out the door. Even in the waking world, it reeks. A bench on the park is far from the most private place for thoughts in Luxford, considering its location at the heart of the bustling city. but in the early hours of the morning, it provides enough peace and quiet for any poor problematic soul who happens to wander here. The city is just waking up, a little later than usual. But knowing what day it is, one can't fault it for being a little tardy just this once. Yet neither the pleasant morning nor the chill soft twittering of birds does anything to banish the images. Every single one has rooted itself in my head, its claws digging deep into what is no longer a safe place to hide in.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Take a key and
It used to be
lock him up,
easy
lock him up,
finding some
lock
pretense
him up.
of
Take
peace
a
under the
key
glues
and
of
lock
sheer
him up,
optimism,
my fair
following
lady.
regular routine.
London
Now
Bridge is falling
I
down,
don't know what to make of it.
falling down,
I'm sorry about this.
London
Sometimes it's
Bridge is
easier to
falling
run,
down,
easier to
my
hide
fair
when
lady.
everything is falling
Take a
apart.
key and lock
That way
him
you don't
up,
have
lock
to
him up, lock him
be
up.
the first to
Take
witness
a
it when it
key and
does.
lock him up,
It worked when
my
things went
fair
bad with the
lady.
movie, after all.
London Bridge
It
is
worked when Ma and
falling
Pa were
down,
taken from
falling
us.
down, falling down.
Though
London
the
Bridge is
sentiment was a
falling
little
down,
hypocritical when the way you
my
think
fair lady.
when you think
Take a
about my little
key and
talk with
lock
Miss
him
Wright
up,
the other day.
lock him up, lock him
But
up.
that's just
Take
how
a
it
key
is.
and lock him up,
Maybe it
my
really is just
fair
better
lady.
if I just...
Hey, mister.
Oh, look at that cute little girl. The tiny voice gives me a pause. When I look up, a little girl, maybe about 6 or 7, is peering at me. Two wide eyes overflowing with what can only be natural curiosity one typically sees in children. I vaguely noticed that St. Grody uniform she's wearing before returning her greeting.
Hey, kid.
Kylie.
Kylie?
That's my name. Mama said it's rude not to call people by their names.
She then flops down on an empty space beside me. Her little legs, still too short to touch the ground, swing in tune with the song that she hums under her breath. I don't mind kids. Nana would often invite me to the ones in our old neighborhood to give them treats. Of course, by then, Sis and I are both too old to play with them, but you get used to the commotion eventually. It's not completely as unpleasant as the most people would imply. Kylie seems to be a well-behaved kid anyway.
Oh, sorry. Nice to meet you, Kylie. Is Mama here?
No, but my big brother's with me. He's taking pictures with his camera over there.
She points to the far end of the park, the one closest to the street where a kid is taking shots of something above him. It doesn't look to be birds because all there is on that side of the park are buildings.
I don't see what's so interesting with the tip of a building, though. I'd take pictures of dogs if I were him. They're cuter. Do you have a camera too, mister?
Yeah, I'm actually a photographer.
Mama said I'm too young to get a camera.
I'm sure your mama will eventually give you one. But won't you be late for school like this?
Big brother will get us there on time. Rowan promised Papa. We aren't going to be late. It's sports day. So it's not good if you keep looking like that today. If it ends up raining and we lose, it's your fault.
All right, I'll try not to upset the clouds today, kid.
Is it because you're sick, mister?
Before I know it, a smile has spread over my face. They say kids ask the toughest questions sometimes, and they sure do with how sincere Kylie looks. Lying feels like doing her a huge disservice.
No, not sick. Just having a very, very bad day.
Why is that? Is that like when my big brother ate all of my pudding? He did that once and then cried. It wasn't very nice of him.
Yeah, I think so. You see, there's this mean girl. She's giving my friends and I a lot of trouble. Hard to keep up when things are like that, you know? Especially when you can't do anything. It's kind of scary. Makes you wish things will just stay as peaceful as they used to be.
Maybe she just wants to be friends with you?
I highly doubt that. One of my friends, she left us because of her.
What if she's just sad? Or maybe she just wants help. That's what happened with Melody. I let her borrow my crayon when she left hers. Now we're playmates.
It's not really the same thing, Kylie. What she did, they're pretty bad things.
I still think there's another reason. Did you try talking to her? That's what Mama said I should do.
I don't think that'll work either.
You haven't even tried yet. You sound like Rowan. You're just scared, mister.
That strikes a chord. Maybe it's the honesty in her tone or simply the truth in the words itself. I don't know why, but I can't help it. I laugh. Loud enough to disturb an elderly couple taking a leisure walk nearby.
Why are you laughing?
That's nothing. You're a really smart kid, you know that?
That's what I've been doing, ain't it? Go full speed, alright, then backtrack when things get tough. Stay safe in my zone because that's all I know. Once Dr. Navarro said I should be the first one willing to deal with my problems before anyone else. I didn't show up to our next appointment after that. But he's right. And though I hate to admit it, knowing what I've seen, but the kid makes a good point too. I've been so caught up thinking that there might not be a way out. Maybe there isn't, or maybe there is, but that doesn't mean I should just leave it up to fate.
You better get to school, though, or you'll miss sports day. You should have won yourself some awards, alright?
Alright. Can I show it to you when I do? That can cheer people up, right?
In the distance, her brother calls for her, and I took that as a sign to leave. Got things to do, to face. The first few steps, they say.
Nah, I'm good now, I think. Thanks to you. Besides, Mr. needs to go. But you should show it to Mama and Papa. I'm sure they'll be proud of you, Kylie.
I will. Thanks, mister. Bye.
I give her a little pat on the head before before heading my way. A small gesture of thanks from a stranger she didn't know she might have helped. She might not understand it now, even though at such a young age she already has this understanding of things, maybe when she's older, when the world no longer seems too big for her.
But aren't you going to help me, mister?
With what?
Confused, I glanced back. Whatever cheer our little talk brought has vanished under the shadows, suddenly dancing in her eyes. The frigid air is definitely not how the morning chill should feel like, bitter, stinging, and unwelcoming. And the kid?
What do you think, mister? Are you going to help me?
Leave us alone! What did we do to you?
The response never comes, however, because when I blinked, gone.
Hello? Mister? Are you okay?
Creepy! For several passing seconds, I let the stare linger on my face, waiting for any sign of another chance. But all that remains is there a carefree smile of a child. None of the spite, none of the cold, bloody smile.
Nothing. I really need to go, Kylie. It was nice meeting you.
See you again, mister!
I break into a run. I don't look back, not even as I bump into a couple of passers-by as soon as I'm out on the busy streets. Going insane, that is what it is. And if we don't do something soon, we all will be. Alright, we are going to end this episode off here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.